recap what we had talked about previously, the shield system is going to be uh, basically visual effects with blueprints, with the whole static mesh and that kind of a thing, where it's directed in the direction the character is facing.
Right.
And then there was. Hold on, let me go back to it. Jump there. Okay, we're just going to group the slow time and speed up time systems as the time manipulation system, which is going to be related to the time stones, correct?
Right.
Okay. So that means that we would have to do, for the programming piece, we would have to do something kind of similar to this, except with a delay for a specified amount of seconds, which we could probably do a timer for. I might have to talk with Cosmo on specifically how to do more of that. And then, let's see, were there any others? Oh, the AIM system was the one we were just talking about. So that one is more doable. So it would have to be kind of, sort of, like this one that's shown, except we would have to tweak it to where it would be actually in line with the character instead of above where the character is at. And then
Right.
the score system is pretty self-explanatory. I might have a video that I can go over that kind of explains how to do a simplistic score system. But just for the sake of argument, how did you envision the score system working, Zeek?
I kind of envisioned it being more like if you collect any items or collect any coins or even like kill enemies, it will increase like the score, like a basic score system. Like just collecting stuff increases your points.
Okay, so yeah, okay. Or could it?
I would say that like different like items will be worth less. Like items will be worth less, and fight as you fight enemies, as the tougher they get, that will be determined like how many points they are. Like toughest gives a lot, weakest gives less.
Okay, Could it just be kind of simple on the amount of enemies you kill increases your points?
Right.
I'm just kind of thinking that might be simpler to do than figuring out what items and bosses give certain amounts of points for defeating or picking up.
And we can just make it easy, saying like a boss is worth 2,000 points or something like that.
Okay, yeah, we would have to figure that out specifically, but I think I have something that goes over a basic score system that I can start on once Dragon and I rebuild the missing blueprint in the project that we need to fix for actually getting started on work for the project.
Okay.
Okay, so that is all covered. And then in the programmer's chat, you said that the ability system is different from the time stone ability system. So
Correct.
the regular ability system is more for the magic that Ko is casting from his staff. Meanwhile, the time stone ability system is more related to the time stones and the abilities that they give you.
Right.
Okay. Elemental damage. We kind of sort of brought that up in one of the meetings, but I don't know if we've.
Like what me and Cosmo did, we did come up with like an idea of like how some elements would be stronger at certain levels compared to like those that would be weaker at those levels. But we haven't jotted down a specific number of how strong the enemies are, or like how strong the elements would be against those enemies.
Okay.
We
That.
basically just ranged them from D to A.
Okay, so that would be something to bring up next meeting just to clarify on a little more and what specific elemental types we're going with for this damage system. And I may ask Cosmo to work with me on coming up with the elemental damage system.
Okay.
The shop system, I'm not entirely sure how to go about that.
Well, some of the items that we were trying to post off as sellable items would be like stuff that would increase your health, or stuff that would restore your health, or give you like a buff skill that would help you survive longer. Stuff like that. Or like to increase your, you know what? That would be another one for like increasing your mana, so you can be able to like, so you won't be able to like constantly shoot like the same blast over and over again.
Right. The coin system
Just
should be relatively simple in the grand scheme of things.
right.
And I don't think there were any others that we needed to go over.
we already talked about the. You already understand the health system, so it was pretty easy actually.
Yeah, yeah. Except I did an arena shooter for the health system, but that should be that should be not too hard to figure out how to do for a side scroller or a platformer type of game.
Yeah.
So the one other thing that I had questions on. I don't remember what was said at the last meeting about it. But with the time stones, are we thinking kind of sort of along the lines of Diablo 3, where they do like the sockets for items where the time stones can be abilities can be put onto specific like weapons or certain pieces of equipment to help aid Ko in his battles, or is it more going to be trying to think of a game that would do something similar to what you were kind of describing for the time stone ability system?
Were we thinking like was it Chrono Trigger or something like that?
It could have been.
I remember. I remember that the time stones are like a type of slot system that like once you get one, you can switch it off. You can like switch it off or on to the. Am I thinking of no? That's Crash Bandicoot, and he had to grab the mask. I think I'm thinking more of no. Sonic also had to grab like each of those space aliens to do those types of abilities. Was it
Well,
Samus? But
possibly.
the idea was that like once Code gets a time stone after defeating the boss, he would be able to like he would be able to like switch between all seven of them.
Okay, so with the time stone ability system, are we thinking it's kind of similar to like a basic version of the Diablo 3 socket system, or are we thinking more trying to think.
Oh, I know.
Or would
Like
it be
similar to
more like Super Mario or what was it? Chrono Trigger might have something similar to what I'm thinking of.
I was about to say think of like El- think of like how you use your abilities in Elden Ring. Like there are there are some abilities that are already that you set into like your character, and like you just switch between each one. Uh, I think that's a good example, or
Okay, so
probably probably I was trying to simplify it and make me think.
Let me see if I can find gameplay. So let me see.
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities.
They can skip through to get to the gameplay part. Yeah, I thought this be might show it, but no, it really doesn't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's not showing what I was wanting. Um, hmm.
Like how imagine like how you would have the ability system with the time stones. It's like the UI for it. I imagine it being like on something similar to a clock, and every time you use one, you have like the one that you're actually using. It will turn itself to that one that you're using, and then start glowing and stuff like that, or like a selectable type thing.
Okay, so. So this will hopefully have what I'm looking at.
The Nephilim. My hatred is too low. I need more hatred to do that. Need more time. Not enough hatred.
Uriel sent me to find him. Malthael has taken the Black Soul Stone. You must come with me.
People are suffering down there. I have to act now.
But you and Tyrael need to form a plan. We must find Malthael.
Tell Tyrael to meet me in Westmarch. Go.
It will be done. I swear it.
I think I'm making this sound confusing because I'm thinking of it more visually, but systematically, I feel like you can pause it right here. From what you're saying is like, oh,
So with this,
sorry, I let you
it
finish.
has 3 sockets, and it looks like all of the sockets are filled with gems that boost the dexterity of the person who's wearing them, the equipment. So are we thinking something kind of along these lines for the time stones, where they can be added to equipment, but do something really basic where one time stone can be used for one piece of equipment only at a time?
Like, there will only be like one equipment in general, which is like Co's staff, and that he will have it equipped to, like, the time stone will be equipped to his staff, and then like it will have to be switched out to with a different one.
Okay,
Like,
so
like there will be like a timer for like how long he can use that time stone's ability for, and also we cannot like keep on letting him constantly be using it like over and over again.
right. I'm just curious of if we were thinking kind of like this, only because you said it was going to be for like his staff only. So
Right.
do we want to do something kind of like this with the
The time is 5 o'clock p.m.
staff only, and every so often the player has to replace the time stone that's in the staff? I'm just trying to think of a way that it
I
could
say
be
you see
easily
his skill,
done. Yeah.
like the skills at the bottom where next to the health. Well, I think that's the health is that big red orb.
Yeah. Well,
So
the
basically,
health is.
I imagine more something like that, but like most of them are locked, and like they will only unlock themselves if he actually got it.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah, see,
that makes more sense.
like the that's why I was referencing it as like being on like a little wheel instead of like having it all spread out on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, because you still need the normal abilities with Ko using his staff, and then the time stone abilities selected on like a wheel or something.
Right. And like once he starts activating it, then that's when he was able to like shoot out like blast that does whatever that type of time stone does, or like can you changes up his movements as well.
Okay. Okay, so it's basically just it's going to be basically an ability system, but we're going to have it formatted
Just based on
differently from his regular abilities.
right. So that's similar to like a skill system. That's a better idea to call it instead.
Okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now on how to. Alright. Okay. Then I know what I need to research then for that. Okay, I think those were the only things I wasn't clear on. When we actually get working in the project, I may have Cosmo help me with the shop system and the coin system. Or, well, not necessarily the coin system, but the elemental damage system to
Right.
do that. And I don't know if I can get my other two programmers active enough for them to do much of anything on the project, which means I am more than likely going to be doing a lot of these systems myself with the help of Cosmo.
I understand. And if you need my help too, don't just ask.
Yeah, I will. Okay, I think those were the only things that I had questions on, because I was just a little confused on some of the systems, but that that actually makes a lot more sense now. Now that you've kind of explained some of that,
No problem.
I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today and kind of go through what you were thinking for certain systems.
Hey, no problem. I was literally working on just plot the plot for the game's narrative, and I just got stuck on only one little thing. I'm trying to figure out the story plot for like the level when you're in the modern era. I got the others, but I just haven't finished the modern era yet.
Do you have anything for the modern era so far?
I know that like I have an idea where like since the in each world you go to, well, in each era you go to, you meet with one of the time wizards. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there. And like the time wizard you meet there is named Otto, and he's living with his family inside their house. But the idea is that I'm thinking of that he's trying to just stay away from trying to and go outside into the modern era. Like he's trying to keep his family more secluded because he's afraid of the guardian he left in charge of the future stone. But the only problem is
Okay.
we had the idea for the boss, but we didn't finalize the idea. Like we knew that the boss would be in the background and has like giant turrets pointed at you in the foreground. But then I started thinking like, yeah, the boss idea is cool, but like we could that sounds like more of its second phase. It's not really who who the boss is in narrative wise, but I don't want to change it. But I also
Right.
feel like I should.
Right. So what exactly, if you don't mind me asking, what is the boss that you fight in the modern era? Like, is it a person or is it some sort of creature or?
Well, if you well, let me hold on for a sec. Last meeting, me and Cosmo was showing off like this new like we was talking about like the enemies and the puzzle systems and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so we came up with like these ideas. I can scroll down and show it to you.
Okay.
Like first we thought about these types of traps going on in like each era. Then we go down to like where the mini games and puzzles would be more effective. Like the Void era is nothing because like we're more imagining that it's like a collision of all of every puzzle and like other stuff that you went through inside this void like era.
Okay, so scroll back up for the modern era real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were thinking something for that mini game, something similar but tweaked for a basically a retro style Donkey Kong for the mini game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It randomly came to me. I just thought like we could make a Donkey Kong modernized version.
No, that actually sounds really cool actually.
Yeah. The only problem is that like we have to make it so it doesn't that feels like Donkey Kong, but doesn't actually, but it's not Donkey Kong.
Right.
And then we have like these types of enemies that we decided on what their identities will be. First, we got a movie serial killer boss,
Okay.
and then we got snake biker gang. Like basically, some of them will be like having a snake head and body of a human. Others will have like the opposite.
Huh, okay.
And then we thought of a flaming ghost construction worker. And we was thinking about a skull enemy biker, but I still feel like we're probably gonna get sued by Marvel because of like Ghost Rider.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Is you've really gotta watch and be careful that it doesn't turn into a lawsuit against the studio from like Nintendo or Marvel or, you know, bigger companies that could easily squash us for copyright infringement.
Right. So I was thinking that like if we have so many like for the boss in the modern era, I feel like it has to be something that is like terrorizing and was more like a more monstrous compared to that robot with a turn. I mean, we could still have that, but that sounds more like a second phase type of version of the boss, not like the first phase.
Hmm. I mean, you could do the Flaming Ghost construction worker. I mean, that would make it a little unique.
It would, but I was thinking we could just leave that as like some of the beta enemies that you fight in the game.
Okay.
Maybe we could do. I was last night. I was thinking about a shapeshifting type boss like enemy. I mean, we have a shapeshifter, but I mean like more of a. How how would this one be? It won't shapeshift into like the other enemies. It will more so Terminator. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay. The only thing
Yeah.
would be copyright infringement with an idea kind of like that. So
True.
it would have to be tweaked just enough to be different from the Terminator itself. Maybe it's not
Right.
a robot, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's an evil time wizard or something.
I already know there's too many. There's too many demon type bikers, so we can't use that. I mean, Hellboy's a demon type biker, isn't he?
Huh? What?
I said, isn't Hellboy a demon type biker?
Hellboy is more of a demon bounty hunter type of thing. He's not really a biker as far as I remember.
Right.
That's not
Because it
hard
feels like it feels like in the modern era you're fighting more of haunted and more scary type of villains. And we already got the Omega virus, so we can't use like some type of AI system going crazy in the modern era.
No.
And we already got like the robot for the industrial era, so we can't have like it's more of a Gundam type robot. So we can't have one for the modern era either. I feel like this boss could be something else entirely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing something similar to what. Have you seen the anime called Chainsaw Man?
Yeah, I've seen clips of it. I haven't watched the entire thing. But that would be interesting for a concept, something kind of along the lines of like the Chainsaw Man Devils type of thing.
Yeah, I was talking with Cosmo and Camo before of like making that boss look similar to like, well, not similar, which I would say similar to the Gun Devil in Chainsaw Man. I seen a comic strip of him, and when I saw it, I just felt like that's probably the boss's second phase that we was thinking of, but I don't know.
It'll be interesting either way.
True.
I don't have really any other ideas that would be unique without pulling from a game that would be a much larger project and more in depth.
Well, if I'm going to be unique about it, I should think of it. I should try to think of the theme of the boss then. Well, one, we know it's going to be a horror type boss. Two, it has to do something. We could have it be about. Nah, if it's a bounty hunter, why is it guarding a gem then?
I don't know, an evil bounty hunter that was, I don't know, tricked into guarding the stone? Maybe? I don't know.
I was thinking of having the boss be made of nanobots, like those things that Hero was making in Big Hero 6.
Ooh. That's interesting. That might be something to bring up at the next meeting for ideas on what to do for the modern era main boss and see what everyone else kind of thinks about that.
Yeah, maybe other people might have a better idea for like the redesign of the modern era boss,
Yeah.
because that's the only thing that's stopping me from completing like the rest of the narrative. I did like the Jurassic, the medieval, the World War era, and even like I even did the industrial era. Like for the World War era, it's more like the Time Wizard who was in charge of that world. He was first trying. He he first was protecting the Time Stone like he was supposed to, but since he keeps on seeing like the war go on for so long, like for a Time Wizard, they have to reset their timeline. They have to reset themselves to a certain point in time because like if they stay in the timeline, if they stay with the time stone, it's going to end up in some. It's just going to end up in like the future or the past. Like like someone else will be eventually take it.
Mm.
That's the reason like they have to stick into like the timeline they are in, so they have to survive for a year in that same timeline.
Right.
And he was getting tired of always seeing like the war going on, so he tried to use the rewind stone to try to save some soldiers' lives. But another soldier found him and thought he was an enemy and tried to attack him, thus breaking the time stone itself. Once it was broken, it starts overreacting and split itself into three different pieces and started combining in not only the Time Wizard, but also the two soldiers that he was, the one that was attacking him and the one that he was trying to help, and they ended up creating three monsters that would soon form together to become the amalgamation.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's actually a
Yeah,
cool idea.
thank you.
So, now that we're not
The
talking
Jurassic
about
one.
the systems, let me stop the recording.